Mm-mm-mm. Hey, what's crack-a-lackin' peeps? Welcome to another episode of the Uncorked Poetry Podcast. I am here with my guest, Muhammad Muwakil.
Yep.
Now, I know y'all checked out the promo, and I know everybody was just like, "Who is this dude?" We about to find out. Oh my God! So, Muhammad, I found you through a friend of mine who sent me your video, your poetry
hmm
video. Blew my whole face off. I absolutely loved it. I love the way that you deliver poetry because every poet delivers poetry differently. But I just love you. Just have like this cool ass fucking vibe, but you dropping straight knowledge. I love that. Oh, before that, let me just let you introduce yourself. Hi, Muhammad. I got
Hi.
excited.
It's Omar. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Yay, boss.
I'm very good. It's a lovely Friday evening in lockdown here in Trinidad. So
Nice. You're in Trinidad, huh?
yes, I am in Trinidad. I'm not in the Bahamas. Some people thought I was in the Bahamas. I'm not gonna call it any
Who thought? I don't
some
know who thought you were in the
some
Bahamas.
people did like extensive research and somehow still.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Somebody was
listen,
all up on your Instagram. Was just like, he live in the Caribbean.
I think I need to paint a Trinidad flag on my face just so we get it right.
I mean, maybe, yeah. So, for those of you who are wondering, so I've been talking to Muhammad all week, and I sent him this text earlier today, and I was like, "So I'm gonna send you the link at like 6 o'clock my time and 5 o'clock your time, and all this shit." And he's like, "I'm in Trinidad," and I was like, "What?"
What went wrong?
Hey, what's up, Rach? I have no idea what happened. I don't know. So he is in Trinidad, if anybody's wondering.
I am.
What was your day like today? How was your day?
Um, I've been having interesting days. Actually, I bought over my old family home, and I've been up there, beginning to clean the land to start renovating. And it's literally in the middle of the forest. Um, and then we had a triple murder 2 miles from that house a few days ago. So I went up yesterday, and there were just police everywhere. Um, yeah, there's a lot going on, but we cool. We all right. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we cool. We cool. Yeah, but it's been good. I've been up there just clearing the land, preparing to plant and that kind of stuff.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. One foot in front of the other, right?
Yeah. So it's between doing that and in studio recording new music right now.
Nice. Yes. You guys. There's just you there. You're part of a group called Freetown, right?
I am Freetown Collective.
Freetown Collective. Could you tell us a little bit about Freetown and how you guys got started?
So the name Freetown comes from the area that I was born in. The area I was born in now is called Belmont. But
Hmm.
in the mid 1800s, a large group of West Africans came to Trinidad. They were Yoruba people, and they came as indentured workers. They didn't come as enslaved peoples, right? So they had contracts, and they came with their own money. And when they got here, they bought land, which was the first thing that they did, right? They bought land, a very large piece of land, and they called it Freetown. And they would regularly buy other people's freedom. They would do that. So I didn't know that history about where I grew up because when the English, well, they changed it again. I don't know how it was changed again, right? It was changed to Belmont, which just means beautiful hill. But there was this whole history behind it, right? And I
Hmm.
only found out that history when I was in my early 20s. And I was like, how does something like this get hidden so deep that I don't know about it, until then? And I was like, I have to expose this. And I just started kind of building the whole philosophy of Freetown around that. Because when I looked at the area I was living in, I was like, this can't be what my ancestors intended, right? There's a crack house 4 blocks from me, and the
Hmm.
police station is 6 blocks from the crack house. So like we all know what's going on. And I was like, nah, this is not what my ancestors intended. So I said, how do I fix this? And the only thing I could think of was to begin with myself. And then once I began to feel as though I was ready to speak, to kind of spread that message to who was close to me, and then have those close to me spread the message more and more and more, and so that every person who comes in contact with that message becomes in and of themselves a free town, and they keep spreading the message out, and that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years.
Damn, that's beautiful. Damn, that's beautiful.
I'm thankful. I'm so thankful.
So beautiful. Fucking love it.
I'm so grateful, man.
How many members are in Freetown?
Hundreds of thousands. But um, the core is 6 of us. So it's myself and my brother Lou Lyons. So he would have been the one who started it with me, along with another brother called Keegan Maraj, who's no longer an active member. Um, and then we brought in 3 wonderful, wonderful, wonderful women, Tishana Williams, Malini Joseph, and Shanna Joseph. So they make up our supporting singers. And then we brought in a DJ about 4 years ago, DJ Raucus. So that's 6 of us there, plus Keegan on the outside, 7. So 6 of us that roll heavy.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you guys have this music video out. Wrecked my whole day. Hurt my heart in a beautiful way. A beautiful way. It was about abuse. One of the videos I watched was about abuse.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you guys, you know what? We're gonna keep talking. I'm gonna find the link and we're gonna put it in the bio because I don't think you guys understand the beauty of this video. Obviously, you don't, because like you're just talking about it. Yeah. But anyway, in the meantime, I want to know. Oh, when did you start writing? Did you start as a poet, as a musician? How did writing start for you?
I started as a poet. Spoken word just completely caught me. I was at our elder's house, and these 2 girls, Corinne Gray and Dara and Jerry, they saw me with a book, and they were like, "You write?" I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Read us something." And I read a poem for them, and they're like, "Yo, we have this event called the Speak Easy. You should come through." And the first time I stepped on a stage and performed a poem, that should change my whole life. That changed. I mean, nothing was the same for me after that. I just felt like I found what I was supposed to be doing. I felt like I was never more at home. And I remember we had the event at this spot that was close to the mosque that I go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to walk from the mosque. It was like a 15-20 minute walk from the mosque and get there early every Friday and set up all the chairs and everything and whatever. They never asked me to do none of that shit, but I was so excited to have found this thing. It totally changed my life. Totally changed my life.
Yes, I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Being on stage is just a whole different feeling. It just,
Yeah.
how does that, for me, when I step on stage, like I feel like a fucking superhero. Like I feel like I can do anything. How do you feel like when you put like foot to stage, when you first step on stage? What does that feel like to you?
Gosh, it gets very quiet. And it's just me and my God, It really is. It's just, why am I here and why am I doing this? And then once you start, it feels like there's this well here. There's a river, and it just, just goes and widens, and then everybody's caught in it. Yeah. And there's so many different ways that manifests itself, and there are nights when you're so connected to the audiences, you and 2, 3, 4, 500 people just breathing the same air, just connected as one, feeling the same things at the same time. There's something that we miss in a very tribal sense, and I think that's what those type of experiences provide. We don't get them on a daily basis.
Yes. Have you ever been writing something and you finish writing it, you start rehearsing it, whatever, and you start thinking, maybe this is too personal. Maybe I'm sharing too much of myself. You ever have that feeling?
Not enough. I wanted more. I really wanted more. Sometimes I feel like I don't do that enough. Like my stuff is a bit general because I'm dealing with issues of history and society and whatever. And I've been over the years trying to go into myself even more. I want to have more of those. There are times but I want more. I want more of that. I want more of that discomfort, that feeling of, oh, is this too much to share?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. So like I said before, thank you and hello to everyone who's jumping on to the live stream. Welcome. My name is T. I'm your host. This is Uncorked Poetry Podcast. My wonderful guest is Muhammad, and he is a musician, artist, poet, cool ass motherfucker. All that. He's all that. So hi everyone.
Hello.
like I was saying before, I found you through my buddy Rachel. Her boyfriend Juarez sent me a video of you doing your poem, Flash Forward to Babylon. So there are two things in this poem that we have to talk about because I love it so much. So the first thing is politicians will be eaten on sight.
Yeah.
Just so you know. And the second thing is racism that you said, quoting you, racism is reduced to a joke we tell over the bonfires fed by the bodies of those too stubborn to integrate. God damn. I love that line so much. The world is in that line.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, there's a lot in
There's a
there.
lot in
So can we talk about the politicians first? Who who decides who gets eaten? Is it all the politicians at once?
So this is this is actually very serious for me, right? I think a time is going to come in human evolution where we're going to ban advertisements, right? We're not going to be able to advertise anything because we would realize that we've been lying to each other all along, and that advertisement is actually a large part of the problem as to why we've polluted the planet to the point that we have. Because after the Industrial Revolution, we had to sell all that shit because no one needed it, right? No one needs 10 pairs of sneakers. So we had to make that shit cool. And we advertised things. We began to lie and make things seem like they were worth more than they were actually worth, right? And politicians came as a part of that process, right? They came as a part of that process. Because the truth is that when people have to advertise themselves in order to rule, anytime someone puts his hand up and says, let me lead, that's the last person who should be leading.
Yes.
That's the absolute last person, because the leader is the one sitting down quietly in the back, looking at what's going on and devising the plan in his head, and everyone already knows who he or she is. You know? And so when I say politicians will be eaten on sight, I mean those people who will try to convince us that they know the way. They're going to get roasted every single time, because we would look back at our history at that point and we will go, oh, this is what we don't need. For sure. We don't need that. No, thank you. No.
Yeah. No.
You know, no one has ever asked me to explain anything about this poem.
No, really?
You're the first person that's ever asked me to explain anything. This is the first time I've offered an explanation for that.
Well, it spoke to me. It really, really did. Because if there were ever, I feel like we're heading to that. If there were ever Babylon, if it were the end of the world, there are things that we as humans need to come to grips with. And we are teeter-tottering towards fucking Babylon right now. So there are things that get your shit in order.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounded like to me. Like, time to get your shit in order. It's order time.
Shit in order. Yep.
Yeah. And the second thing, I will read this quote a million times because I fucking love it so much. Okay, so this quote from Muhammad's poem, Flash Forward to Babylon, is, racism is reduced to a joke we tell over the bonfire, fed by the bodies of those too stubborn to integrate. Please talk more about this.
Yeah. There's a line that goes before that says, the children here talk of a brighter future, but with the ozone layer depleted, these words have taken on a brand new meaning, right? The perverse world that we're used to reverses in the future. No more Ku Klux Klan and lynching. With all that skin cancer and burning, white folks begin to wish for melanin. They pray, Christ, make me black as sun. Make me black as coal and safe from the sun. Black is beautiful and functional. And that's where that line comes from, right? Those who too stubborn to integrate. Because the truth is, we will pollute the planet. Hopefully not, right? But if we get to that point where the ozone layer can no longer protect us, melanin will be one of the most highly prized things for someone to be born with. Like, the blacker you are, the better. If you could be born black as coal at that time, that's going to be the preferential thing. You're not going to want to be white as snow, which is an extreme turnaround, right? And so anyone too stubborn to integrate, basically, you're going to die. We have to burn your body because we can't have that shit hanging around causing disease, right? So, I mean, it might sound real macabre to some people, but when I sit down and I stretch what we're doing now, the way we are now, you know what I mean? they're still finding the bodies of indigenous children in Canada, like in the backs of schools. We think that we're beyond it, right? We think so yeah, those are realities that we have not yet faced. That's how I feel.
If you can, I'm sorry, that was rude. If you'd like to, could we go into your first poem and could we hear Flash Forward to Babylon?
Sure, let's just do that. Okay.
I mean, cool. That's cool. Whatever.
Whew. It is the oldest misconcept of the world that a man's worth can be measured by his weight in gold. It was an attempt by the weak to control to create a system in which anything could be bought and sold, so we could plunder to an extent previously untold and forget that we only have one world to check this. The earth and everything on it is made up of matter. In the realm of the creator, matter doesn't matter. So the earth and everything on it, in essence, means nothing, except for the essence of things, which means everything. Now, the thing that was worth everything ascribed worth to that which was worth nothing, thereby creating a system in which anything could be worth something, meaning that everything could be worth nothing and nothing could be worth everything. Now, the less that exists of a thing in a system where anything could be worth something makes that something's worth achieve growth, which brings its worth closer to that of everything and lowers the worth of everything closer to that of nothing, thereby tricking the owners of everything into believing that they have nothing and selling their everything for nothing, which always leaves them wanting. Now, ain't that something? When the reality of our situation finally hits us, it will shatter our jaws, and for once we will be justified in saying nothing. The homeless will set up street corner classes to teach survival tactics to middle and upper class Trinidadians. The new survivor man will be a vagrant. Bank vaults will be used to store food, and fat women will be the most attractive women on earth and will no longer be called fat, but successful. Politicians will be eaten on sight. Warriors will wear their tongues around our necks like medallions. Rich men will try to buy food with their money. When that fails, they will try to eat their money. When that fails, they will burn it to keep warm. When that fails, they will go mad. Rich men will go mad. Farmers will set up fortresses around their lands and they will be called kings. Technology will be irrelevant and computers will be mined for metals. Places like the Hyatt, Marriott, and Movie Town will be rendered useless due to power cuts. As popcorn, pop film, and high ceilings become luxuries we can ill afford, we will be sorry we cut down the mangrove. A man will beg you to trade him a plate of pilau for his Range Rover Sport. That man will be asked, do you have anything else? That man will be asked, are you insane? That man will be told you cannot eat a car. That man will try to eat his car. At the edge of the world, there's much to discuss. The children here talk of a brighter future, but with the ozone layer completely depleted, these words have taken on a brand new meaning. The perverse world we're used to reverses in the future. No more Ku Klux Klan and lynching. With all that skin cancer and burning, white folks begin to pray for melanin. They say, Christ, make me black as coal and safe from the sun. Black is beautiful and functional. Racism is reduced to a joke we tell over the bonfires, fed by the bodies of those too stubborn to integrate. The last great flood, in a bit of natural irony, wipes out every single Caribbean island other than Haiti, and so the place we refuse to see houses us all as Haitian refugees. Rap artists are hunted for their bling, which is then melted down and used to make arrowheads to hunt rap artists for their bling. The cycle of violence continues indefinitely, and I pray that I am not around to read this poem, as poets will be shot on sight for the looks on their faces, which will say only one thing: I told you so.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that poem.
That poem also changed the way I write. Because,
how so?
Yeah. Well, at some point I'll actually do the poem that fully changed the way I started to write. But before, for me, poems were heavy things. They were very political things, and the way I approached them was very, anti-system and chant down. And it was only when I began to embrace myself as a performance poet, I realized that if you have a set, you can't perform poems with the same tempo. You can't perform poems with the same energy, all of them, And I started getting opportunities to perform 15, 20, 25-minute poetry sets. And you can't perform 5 of the same poems. And so I realized, you know what? Humor is a really good way to get people to listen to something really serious. It's one of the most beautiful things. Like, I feel like I would enjoy being a stand-up comedian if I could. Like, I would really enjoy that shit. So I started putting more humor into the poems. And that's when that type of poetry started coming more, you know. I started looking at the work of people like Amiri Baraka and realizing how he would deliver his stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's that teaspoon of honey in the bitterness, you know.
Mm.
It goes a long way.
Mm.
Funny thing about that poem and the one that you saw as well is I hadn't performed poetry for a long time. I hadn't performed that poem for about 7 years.
Really?
And then I went on that TV interview and they asked me very randomly to perform a poem. And I was like, oh God, I haven't performed poetry in so long. And I did that poem, right? They posted it a week later and I started getting all these followers on Facebook from Africa. Like, yeah.
Oh.
So within a week, the poem got to like 50,000 views on Facebook. And then just Africans, people just from Nigeria, Senegal, everywhere. I was like, what is happening here? That poem has like 345,000 views on Facebook or some kind of craziness. It really seemed to have struck a chord, and it was kind of amazing to me how it just kind of happened, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'm grateful that it struck that chord because it means a lot to me. That poem means a lot to me. That poem to me is something that I leave behind for the human race.
Mm. For those interested, here is the link to that poem. And as promised, here is the link to the Freetown video. Right, you guys check that out. And make sure you follow Muhammad on all the socials. Oops. Oh, the oops wasn't you guys. You guys are fine. Yeah. So speaking of, okay, that didn't work. Whatever. Yes. What advice? Because I think it's so. You said that you weren't performing for 7 years, and then very randomly they said, could you do this poem? And I think as a poet, that's a thing that you have to always be ready for. As a poet, any kind of performer, you have to always be ready to perform in an instant. If it's your dream, just whenever they say, go do the thing. You have to
Yeah.
always be ready to do the thing.
You never know. You never know what's going to come out of something. You know, those words that you create, the words that are going to come out of your mouth, you don't know what they're stirring up in the earth. You don't know what they're stirring up in the ether. You don't know what you're calling when you write these things. You have a hope in your heart of what you're calling to, but you have no idea what you are calling or what your calling is, right? And so, like, you have to be prepared because that poem went and did what it did. I don't know how many people that poem touched. Um, but if
A
I
lot.
choked that morning, that opportunity would have never come. You know, I would have dropped an opportunity. You know, it would have been a chance for me to learn. You know, you never lose anything. You learn, but in my learning, in my not being sharp, in my not being ready, I would have also cheated many people out of their opportunity to feel something. You know.
Yeah. What advice would you give an up and coming poet who's just trying to find their way on any stage? How would you help them start that journey?
My first piece of advice, you young poets, um, do not write for the stage. Do not write for the audiences. You will find yourself having sometimes 5 open mics in a week, and your material starts to thin out, and you go, "Oh, as an open mic 2 days from now, I'm going to write a new poem for that open mic." You could do that, but don't make it a practice. Don't make that a practice. Don't make yourself a slave to the open mics. In the earlys, I did that shit. I did a lot of that because you're so excited, you know, it's new world and there's all these people and and you're like, yeah. And after a while I just found myself feeling very listless and I stopped writing for an entire year because of it, because I lost touch with why I was doing what I was doing. So I would say it is more important to go deep and develop your why, because the deeper that you dig developing that why, one day you're gonna hit water, you're gonna hit source, and it's just gonna spring out and you could draw from that eternally. But if you don't dig deep for a why, then you'll always have these surface reasons for doing things. And if you have surface reasons and something very powerful comes along, it'll knock you off your feet. every single time. There has to be something that you're rooted in. If you're not rooted in anything, then nothing will grow, and there's nothing for you to hold on to. So there's that. Get paid. Don't walk around telling me that you're doing it for the culture and whatever. The culture needs your ass to be paid. Okay? People need to pay you for the culture, because what you do when you take free work is you take money out of the mouths of other poets. People will take a free mediocre poet over a great poet who you are undercutting everyone else. And I had to have this conversation with a poet when I was doing poetry, because I was one of the first poets here to get paid, right? Not one of. I was the first poet here to get paid.
What's here? What do you mean here?
Trinidad.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Right? And I only got paid because I had a friend who was a musician who used to take me on gigs with him, and he'd be like, yo, he's opening for me, pay him. Right? And they'd be like, what? Yeah, he's opening for me, pay him. And then there were comedians here who also kind of picked up on what I was doing, and then they would take me and I'd open for them, right? Mm-hmm. Which was a whole heap of strange by itself. But get paid. Because here's what I'll do. When you go to a performance, if people aren't paying you, they don't respect what you do. I don't care what you say. If you tell them you need water to perform and you're not getting paid, you could show up there and there may not be any water. You might want the mic a certain type of way. You might want a mic stand. You might want a wireless mic. And if they're not paying you, they're not going. But you see, the minute they pay you, they start respecting you. You show up there, you get your wireless mic, you get your mic stand, the speakers work. Everything is straight because they want their performance to sound good. And your opportunities will grow. You'll begin to respect yourself. You'll understand how the industry works. Get paid. Don't make money the thing, but money is a thing. You know what I mean? Money is a thing. And there are people who've worked really hard for you to be able to get paid, so get paid. Write about the world that you exist in and write about the world that you want to see. Don't just write about your current circumstance and berate it. And, we all know where we are. And it's beautiful at times for you to describe the way you see where we are. But the role of the artist, I think, is to show us where to go all of the times. How do we get out of it? And sometimes getting out of it means that the artist will describe it so beautifully and so terribly that people will realize, oh, we don't want to be here anymore. This is what we're living in. Oh, shit, I want out. And that's a part of it. But I think we are, as artists, because we're creative, we can also create futures. And that's really where our power is. We think that we just write poems and we're creative, but we can actually create futures. And that's where our power actually lies, in the ability to envision the future. So envision a future for yourself and write that shit into being. Speak that shit into being. Speak that shit into being in the heads of other beings until it is. Yeah? Yeah. I could go on, but take those, go that.
Yes. What's that? Oh, I thought you had something. Okay.
For all y'all health nuts, listen to me. I know y'all think I'm Mr. Super Healthy. I am drinking Coke and I don't need y'all on my back about it, right? Don't ask me later on Instagram what I was drinking. I was drinking Coca-Cola. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink alcohol, but I drink this right here every now and then. Leave me alone. Carry on.
Let me jump into these comments right quick. Rachel said, yay, I've been waiting for this duo all week. Oh, I put the all week there, but I assume. I don't know, Rach. Amira said, LOL. Jahiva? I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. Javina? Giovanna.
She's an amazing singer, by the way.
Really. So cool. Ronaldo, what's up? Khadijah? Oh, Khadijah, yeah. Until everywhere is free. Fuck yes.
That's our hashtag. Until everywhere is free.
Until everywhere is free. Damn. Yes. Rachel said that's so powerful, history in motion, and Amira said amazing, and they're not wrong. So I have a question about activists, because I feel a certain way about this. I want to know what you think, and then we can talk about it. Do you think that activists should be paid for or compensated for their efforts, either by the group that they're fighting for, the government, or businesses?
Woo. Slippery slope.
Right?
there's something about proving yourself,
Hmm.
right? There's a thing about proving yourself, especially where money is involved, and representation of people, right? So we spoke about politicians earlier, and we spoke about people who vie to represent people because there are perks for that. So I'm not saying that activism should be an altruistic endeavor where people just sacrifice themselves, But yeah, if there's an organization, the activist is working for that organization, right? Like I think there are organizations that formed where the activists, there are organizations now that exist that should subsume artists and activists who are already doing the work and we pay them for what they're already doing, and give them a broad audience for what they're already doing. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's a thing where someone should ever be able to just up and say, I have 1,000 followers on Instagram and I talk shit all the time and I'm
with that
activist and I
check.
should get paid. Yeah, run the jewels, son. No, I don't think that's I don't think that's how it should run at all. Right? That's a very, very it's the same thing. I don't believe that someone should get up in the morning and say that they're a poet and then paid saying that, I don't think so. I think you need to prove yourself. I think you need to be around. I think you need to perform your work. You need to see that, your work is out. Now, if you're first 3 times performing and you're killing it and everybody like, yeah, and people want to hire you, go ahead. Go ahead. But I don't think, but money has a way of sorting those things out. People don't just give away money, so.
I think pretty much that. I think activists who are actively working for change should be paid. But in order to do that, it's not like people are gonna, say that it won't work on the honor system. That's not a thing that humans can do. We just can't. So there has to be like some kind of we saw you in the streets, fighting for freedom and shit like that.
That's right.
It's been 3 weeks. It's been 4 weeks. It's been 2 months. Take this check. Thank you. Keep going. Yeah. We don't care about the followers. We care about the change.
We see what you are doing. Because what is an inactive activist? What is that? Right?
Right.
The word.
Oh, what is your writing process like? How do you write? Do you write in daytime, nighttime? Do you need something with you to write? Okay.
I'm still this guy.
Yes.
I'm still this guy. But I have learned to be this guy.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, only because you find yourself in bank lines, you find yourself in traffic, you find yourself probably sometimes in the night, So I used to be this guy permanently, but now I struggle both worlds. Also because it helped my editor to live a better life because she doesn't have to go and transcribe shit out of this.
Yeah.
I wrote my first novel. I wrote the entire thing. I wrote it. I wrote it down, and somebody had to go take that shit out.
So my God! How many pages was it?
72,000 words. I promised them I would never do that again. So I don't. But I enjoy writing. When I was younger, I used to get beat on my hand for my penmanship. I used to get bad. We say in Trinidad, I used to get licks. I developed my own alphabet. So when I was around 14, I wrote out my own alphabet and painstakingly taught myself how to write my own alphabet. So I have my own way of writing, and I love it. I love to write because I remember what I did. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. It took me a year to teach myself to rewrite my entire alphabet.
Wait, hold on. Let me just make sure I got this right. Your entire alphabet, as in the standardized A through Z alphabet, or did you make your own?
No, I didn't make up a whole other language. I just...
Man, listen, I was about to...
Good though. I could do that though. Just give me 2 years, I'll do it. I'll make up a whole other word. breakfast too.
So I have a question about I guess your soul. I have a question about you. So you're very in tune with your surroundings, with your heritage, with your worth. Who helped you grow into your soul? Who taught you how to look deeper?
God, who didn't?
Mm.
But there's so many. I heard this thing the other day that said, I meet no one but myself, and that was really profound. Um, but I've had so many experiences of human beings along the years, um, who have taught me things in the smallest moments, grandest moments. And as you asked me, that names just jump out. There was this guy. His name was Petty John. He's dead now, I'm sure. He had kidney issues at the time. An old Rasta man. He used to work with my father, and he used to. I was about 11 at the time, and he used to talk to me like I was 75. This man used to speak to me like I would understand and the truth is I understood everything that he was saying. So he used to impart elder level information to me because I felt like he knew he was dying. And we spent a lot of time around that time. I left from where he was before he died, but he was pretty close to death. Um, so I'll just take a little second and just bless his soul. Amazing, amazing human being. I can see him in my head now. We used to ride in the back of my father's tray of his van, and he would just talk to me, and so many things he taught me. And then there was this other old Rasta guy called Kao, and Kao taught me the streets. Kao used to show me certain things that I know my father would not want anybody showing me, but Kao used to teach me these things. I spent 2 years in Africa, and there was a guy from Mali, a brother from Mali. His name was Abdurrahman C. Omar. He was a healer. He was a Sufi,
Mhm.
and he took me under his wing for 2 years and taught me a lot. He taught me a lot. He taught me about the magic in myself. When I came back home, there was a guy called Mr. Mills. I was working in the water company here, and I thought I was the shit. Was getting paid, and I came to work for this man as an assistant. And he looked at me the first day. He looked at my resume because I hadn't done university yet. He looked at my resume and he threw my resume in the dustbin, in the garbage. And he was like, people like you are the reason why this race can't move forward. And I was like 20. I was 20 years old. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're intelligent. You have everything it takes to change the world, but you want to be my assistant. Well, here's what we're going to do. You're going to sit outside of my office, and you're not going to do anything. You're not going to read the papers. You're not going to draw on a piece of paper. Nothing. You're not going to do anything until you go back to school. You're going to leave here. And I was like, wait your old ass out. I get paid. You understand? I'm not interested in what you're doing here. For the first time in my life, I'm getting paid. I grew up poor. I don't hear no shit from you. And him and I had this royal standoff for like 2-3 months. Every day he would come, and if he caught me reading a paper, he would take the paper from me. If he caught me drawing something, if he caught me sleeping, he would just be on me. And then after about 3 months, I couldn't take it anymore. I don't even know if it was that long. I went into his office almost in tears, and he was like, "Let me show you something." And he took out this piece of paper, and there was an ad for an advertisement for this course to get into the university. Right, it was a science course, and I had science. I did physics and math and biology. Right, that's what I studied at school. And he was like, "Go and do this course and get into the university and study and become what you truly are supposed to become. Like, don't sit here and be my assistant." And that shit, whoo, that shit changed. And I mean, there was this woman. Her name, she's a singer here. Her name is Ella Andal. She's an Orisha priestess. She's a singer, and she was like a mother to me. The only way I could explain is like, no one has ever hand fed me mango as a grown man. That's the kind of mothering it was. How does a woman do that to you? And it's a sexual thing. It's a mother thing. Like, she's sitting at the table, she will peel a mango and feed you that mango by hand, and you will eat it because that's your mother. She taught me a lot about women and femininity and that kind of stuff. And I could sit here for the next hour and a half and count people who've taught me things just over and over and over. You know, I had a homeless man tell me one time, he said he was living in a church and the priest asked him if he believed in God. And he said, no, I don't believe in God. And the priest was like, I'll put your ass out. He was like, no, I don't believe in God. He said, but here's the thing. He said, it is an insult to believe in that which I already know. Do I tell you that I believe in the rain? No, the rain is there. Do I believe in the earth? No, the earth is there. How can I tell you that I believe in God? That's an insult. I know God exists. So I don't believe in God, I know God. Yo, as a homeless man who asked me my shoes, we had to give him after that because I was like, okay, you are definitely an angel or some shit. So here are my shoes.
Earned it.
You know, here you go. Here's these Converse right here. I don't need them. You know? So when you ask, you know, who has influenced me or who taught me about my soul, who hasn't taught me about my soul? You know? Who hasn't, man?
Yes. Yes. So I want to talk. I practice this word all day because it's a hard word for my mouth to make, but I'm gonna do it. Today's the day. Okay, so I want to talk to you about colonialism.
Colonialism.
Yes.
That bitch. Mm-hmm.
Right? So I was watching one of your videos, and you said something that really spoke to me, and I wanted to really delve into that for a second. You're talking about the legacy of a person's name. And the quote that what I quoted you saying was, do not disrespect the legacy of people who have thrown away the legacy of colonialism in their line. By placing back that legacy when they die, they are no longer able to defend themselves. And then you went on to say, we have to throw away colonialism mindset. My question to you is, how the fuck do we get out of this? So, like, changing, it sounds so easy. I can see it right here. I can read it. Throw away colonialism mindset.
It's not
I can
easy.
read it. How the fuck do we do it?
It's so interesting. About 3 days ago, I was in a workshop for men, and someone in the workshop said, "You have to be." Hold on, shit, I actually have it written right here. Said, "We live in a European conceived intellectual universe," and the same person also said, "Be careful of the framework you use to analyze your world." Right. So, in order to get out of the colonial mindset, the first thing we have to realize is that the colonial mindset is framed within a European world. That's where, at least for us in the Caribbean, right? That's where we at. We are inside a thing that's inside of a thing. So in our heads, we already have it. We've been trained by our grandparents, by whatever. Now, I, in my own lifetime, have seen the unraveling of that in people's minds, right? So in the 1970s, like I said, people here changed their names. In the 1990s, my father was involved in a coup that tried to overthrow the government here, right? So there have been these uprisings. So in Trinidad in 1962, we got our independence. By 1970, we had young people as young as 15 and 16 picking up arms against the government to overthrow the government, right? So within a span of 8 years, the country was in turmoil because when people begin to realize that their freedom is actually a lie, that they can't actually do what they want to do, that they still have to do what they're told to do in order to actually live, to really live, right? So we have people who abscond completely and they go out in the hills because they realize that they're operating, their mentality exists within a larger framework, that even when they free themselves from that mentality, the framework itself still exists. So when you ask, how do we free ourselves of the colonial mindset? I think the larger question, the harder question is, how do we free ourselves from the colonial framework? Because it's easy to train children, right? I was not raised with a necessarily colonial mindset. I'm a runaway slave. That's what I am. I'm a maroon. I'm the son of a runaway slave. My father and my father's father, I come from a line of people who ran away. and said, no, fuck that shit. I'm not interested. And they taught me and they passed that down. So I come from a family who not afraid of shit, who will starve and die before they give up their values, right? And so somewhere inside of my mind, the colonial mindset has begun to unravel. It's not completely unraveled because there's still things like colorism and all those things that still exist in me that I am still unraveling, right? Like, why does my father generally only marry light-skinned women? Why is it that in my own life, I've found that I am generally only attracted to light-skinned women? And that's something I had to examine from the time I was younger because it's just a thing. And you say to yourself, oh, no, that's just how I am. Really? You know, we have to examine ourselves. But it's easier to do that work than to unravel yourself from the colonial framework. Because the framework is what was left behind to control us, right? When they decided to give us independence in 1962, when they decided to give us independence in 19... So strange, you say colonial mindset, and these colonizers calling me. Let me take my phone off, yo.
Tell you busy.
No, I can't take my phone off. I have to read a poem from here. Yeah. In 1962, when we got independence, it would be really foolish of us to think, right, that let's say you had a business that you wouldn't have to do anything really, and you getting $1 billion a year. And then one day you just like, you know what? I don't want this anymore. Y'all can have it. You the people who've been working in my business for the last 400 years, I don't really want it anymore. I don't need your money. I don't need your wealth. It's okay. White people, the crown, Elizabeth on them, I'm gonna just give you it. Just like that. Fuck no. So they left the framework. And what is the framework? The framework is the intelligent shall rule, and the intelligent are the ones who learn within their system. So you go to school and you learn in a certain way. And the ones who are willing to rule within their system and to rule in a way as though another system can't exist. You know, and I always love that Arundhati Roy quote where she says, another world is not only possible, but it's alive and well or something like that. And on quiet nights I can hear it breathing. To free yourself from the colonial mindset, in my opinion, is the easier thing. Many have tried. If you think about the Black Panthers and the Africa 7 and Assata Shakur and all these people, you know, in our framework, George Padmore and Marcus Garvey and Althea Jones, all these different people, we've had people who've managed to free themselves from the colonial mindset. But the colonial superstructure that exists, that's what's fucking us up. That's what we can't get out. We have not been able to empower ourselves economically yet. But we gonna get that money. We gonna get the money, and then it'll be a problem. So there's no freedom from the colonial mindset, the colonial superstructure, without economic empowerment. It's as simple as that. You can talk a good game for 1,000 years, but if you can't stand up and say, we own these oil fields, you're not going to rape us and give us 12% of whatever comes out of them because we don't have the machinery to dig our own oil. And that money that we get, we're going to make use of it to do what we want to do. And here's what we want to do. We want to de-link from Europe, and we actually want to make connections in Africa instead. We want to get flights straight from the Caribbean to Africa and do trading directly with Africa and no longer trade with Europe. I mean, that's the language of war. So you have to be really careful when you start talking like that. You know, and we have to be ready when we start talking like that. And we're not ready yet. So that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, we're not ready yet.
But we're going to get ready. We're going to get ready.
Yeah, I heard. Get your shit in order. Get your house in order.
Get your house in order.
So I got so involved with talking to you, I forgot we're supposed to do poetry. So can we do another poem? And then I have another question about names and legacies.
Okay. I will do a somewhat silly poem.
Okay.
It's the poem that kind of turned the tide and made me realize that I need to be a little softer and stuff or whatever. It's a poem about this girl that I absolutely fell in love with. And I was sitting in this pizza place and she passed by and I wrote the majority of this poem on the pizza box.
Oh shit.
So, and like I said, this was coming from the days when I was really political in my poetry. So, it says, they say I'm not versatile. I'm too political. I so critical of everything. Muhammad, you ever love anyone? Truth be told, I know the soft look and tender touch that gives way to shivers on cold nights turned warm, but I can't tell you. And I know what it feels like to have 1,002 butterflies take turns tickling my stomach, trying to make me throw up while I'm talking to her, but I can't tell you. And I know what it feels like to ride a wave of ecstasy until it crashes on earthly pleasure shores, leaving you battered and bruised and smiling, but I can't tell you. And I know what it feels like to feel like a stalker, because every day you see her. And you make a point of coincidentally being there. There, of course, being wherever. She happened to be at the point in time till you could tell the time by her. And you hope it's fine by her that you'd much rather lime with her, but since she won't permit that just yet, then you'll just lime by her. Around her or anywhere near, so you could tell when she's changed shampoos by just standing downwind from her hair. Yeah. I know what it feels like to spend a half an hour writing a text message just so you get it just right. Only to find out she takes off her phone after 10 in the night, and if she reads it in the morning, it will sound all wrong. I have stood in a Mario's pizza line nearly 10 miles long just to stand behind her. Wherever she having, I having that too. Just so I could say, hey, I like the same thing on my pizza like you. Eating mushrooms and olives till my face turning blue. I can't spit it out and I don't know what to do because I hate pizza. But it don't matter, because every time she puts a slice to her mouth to chew, she closes her eyes and smiles, and you hope that that thought of pizza is a thought of you too. What will I do? How can I tell you I am stuck on the thought of this girl like glue? I want to be a fly on the wall in her room, and if I was that fly, I'd give my left wing to fall in a cup of juice when she wasn't looking, just so she would drink me down, suck me into her veins, and I would forever be a part of her, never apart from her. I just want her to see me. Like the first breath she takes on a morning, I want to give her life because I know I'd give my life to keep her breathing. My poetic rhyme and reason, half human, half sweetness, like starch mango in season. My Dogla Chinese Indian Rasta Queen Sheba. Nefertiti transcending time to come to meet me. How could I not be grateful? I swear I would spend 1,000 nights on my knees in prayer if it would make her more faithful in me. Turn my heart inside out just to show her what she does to me. She's the strings on a guitar I have not yet learned to play. Everything my heart wants to express but has not yet learned to say. The ABC of love. She's made me see that love is not an overrated, outdated concept. Not a shallow beached whale in a world that lacks depth. Not another boring, free before 11 Friday night fete. Because she's made me feel all these things and I don't even know her name yet.
Yo, that's fucking dope. I love that so much. Oh, you had me with the fly and give my left wing. And then the description of like drinking the fly down. And then you went into like this beautiful description of what it would be like for a person to accept all of you. That was beautiful. That transition was funny. And then like going into that piece was just flawless. Fucking. Oh my God, that was so funny.
That
Did you
poem.
meet her?
Oh yeah, we were together for a while, and that didn't end well. But
Oh,
but
sorry.
I got a dope ass poem out of it.
Okay. I mean, yeah. What is
We
your
still,
shirt
I mean,
say?
we still friends. We still.
Yeah. Yeah. What does your shirt say? It says feel what? Ah, feel the love. Yes, yes. Feel the love, y'all. Spread some love today. It's important. So I had a question about names and legacy of names, piggybacking on the last question. So my last name is Israel, but it's not the last name I was born with.
Right.
Oh, that's fine. My maiden name is Gregory. I got married, got divorced. I didn't want to go back to my maiden name because I felt like that part of me was done. And I found my own name, Israel, means something to me. How important do you think it is for a poet or a performer to not just own their name, but if need be, find a name that fits them? Is Is that journey of finding your name or owning your name as important as preparing for a performance or more? How important are our names to us?
There's a lot there. Um, what is a name, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they call you George, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a woman gets impregnated and she calls a spirit from out in the ether to take life in her womb. You gestate that spirit for 9 months or however long, and it comes out as another human being. So let's just think about how fucking amazing that is, right? Like, women are doors through which spirits come into this realm, right?
Mm-hmm.
The breath of God itself takes form in flesh. The thing that is everything decides to take form as a highly intelligent being. And you look at it and you call it George.
Sorry.
It's laughable. You understand?
Yeah.
You look at the thing that is everything. You look at the most beautiful thing that exists on the face of the earth. And I'm not talking humanity, I'm talking spirit, right? This thing came out of nowhere into this woman, into this life. It is going to have its own destiny. It's going to have its own personality. It has never existed before. It will never exist again. And you call it George. And you laugh when someone calls their son Omowale, the one who returns. You laugh when someone calls their son Abdullah, the servant of God. You laugh when someone calls their son Abdul Jabbar, the servant of the destroyer. You laugh. You can't pronounce those things, but things that have no meaning. And then so for instance, my name is Muhammad. My name means the one who is worthy of praise. Every time someone says my name and directs it at me, that's an energy that's directed at me. Muhammad, 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 Muhammad. 100 million times a year. Even when I'm not there, that energy is wherever somebody is in Australia speaking about me, they are invoking what I am, right? Even if I'm in a low place, someone is saying that person is worthy of praise. If your name means beautiful, that person is beautiful. If your name means mighty, that person is mighty. Even when you're depressed, you're low, people who love you are speaking about you. But if your name is George, then it takes away from it. It's not that you're not going to get some of that energy, but the word sound of George going out into the universe. I read this thing briefly today where it spoke about the power of the word to change your blood. Like the vibration of a word can literally change your blood. I had a tattoo artist tell me that your skin rejects ink depending on the mood you're in. So they can tell when someone's having a bad week because their skin will reject the ink, right? Words and vibrations affect us on levels we can't even begin to understand. So naming yourself, deciding what you are going to be named, I don't know that there's anything more important in the beginning of a life, because for the first how many ever years of that child's life, everyone who meets that child is going to utter a prayer over them. The first prayer that's going to be uttered over them is their name. Because when you're in a class, the people stand up and they say, what are your names? What they're really saying is, what would you like to be called? What would you like to be called? Right? And then when you say what you'd like to be called, that goes on. Which is why we tend to not want to have, well, it's illegal by the Human Rights Declaration to give someone a name that's demeaning, right? You're not supposed to do that. But also, we tend, when we have nicknames, not in Trinidad we give people very demeaning nicknames. And we think that's funny. But in general, when people have nicknames, they tend to be things that are endearing and things that are funny or things that are sometimes really powerful, depending on the person's personality. Everything is in a name, but of course your name is what you make it. you know. But for us now, because we have the legacy of colonialism, when we name ourselves by names that were shared by our slave masters, I think there's something in that for us. I think for me it would be a serious dishonor to name my son or my daughter after someone who it have them share a name with a white colonial master. That's just me. I can't diss nobody else and tell them what to do with their lives. But me personally, I want to give my son or my daughter words that were uttered in power. You know what I mean? Somebody, somewhere along my line, somebody raped one of the women in my line. Yeah. Possibly many, many, many more than one. And those people carried names I can't know. I can't know. I can't know if George or James or William or whoever raped one of my people. And that may not mean anything to a lot of people. People may hear that and say, I'm like that, right? But for me, I'm trying to purge some things out of my system. We spoke about the colonial mindset and this colonial superstructure. I'm trying to purge some shit that's 400 years in the making inside my DNA. That's where I'm going to start. With the things that seem like nothing to everybody else, that should mean a lot to me. So, names, yeah, let's get the names right. Let's get the names right.
Goddamn right. Oh God, I love that so much. I was just thinking, while you were answering, you were talking about George. It sounded, you talking poetry, like your answer just sounded like a poem.
I mean,
that was beautiful. It was beautiful. I loved it, and people learned something, and we all got a little bit closer in that moment. Not just hearing the words that you're saying, but feeling the vibrations, like you were saying, of those words. It was
but
great.
tomorrow, this is what we can do. That's the thing, you know. We are poets, right? We play with the alchemy of words every day. We know words better than anybody else. The average person, they use words to simply communicate things that they want and they need from other people. We use words to communicate things that people don't even know they need and want. To say, wow, I never thought about it like that. I did. Do you know why I did? Because I contemplate these things every day. We don't use our full power because we get ashamed. And I'm saying it for myself too, right? Like, that's another thing. You know, when I say things, people have to remember it. And I'm not saying them because I'm over them. I'm saying them because I'm working through it, right? I don't use my full language every day because I feel like people won't understand me. When I get into spaces like this, I feel safe. So I speak the way I want to speak, you know? I express myself with my full level of emotion. So I can bring you into a story because I know how to do that. That's what's in my line. That's what was given to me. Somewhere along the line, my ancestors were really good at telling stories. That's what I've come to give back to my people, you know? So that's what we can do. We can do that. We're magic, you know? We are a dread kind of magic, you know? But we just don't believe it. We just don't believe it. And if we could believe it, if we could believe the magic that we are, the question you asked me about colonial mindset, it wouldn't even be a question. We'd wake up in the morning and we'd realize, oh, fuck
That's
them.
dumb. Yeah.
Right? If I, like that thing the other day on TikTok where all the black TikTokers started not dancing, and then white TikTok just went mad because they couldn't even make up a dance.
We don't know what to do.
So we don't know what to do with our bodies. That's the whole world. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. Some of the greatest shit that ever happened on this planet. And they always like to take, you know, technological advancement and that kind of stuff and say, oh, well, black people didn't do this, whatever, whatever. You shut my ass down for 400 years. And then you saying that I'm not thinking in this way, I'm not thinking in that way? Fuck you.
For real. Yeah.
I was listening to this Marcus Garvey speech this morning because I'm writing a song and I'm putting a piece of the speech in the song. And he said, on an even playing field, we are as intellectual as anybody else. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think. It's crazy to think. But yeah, going back to what you said just now, we can do that for everyone. You can imagine a judge who has the ability to tell a story like that, or a parole officer, or, you know, which is why people should learn poetry and they should learn to speak. Because when you can relate to somebody, that's one thing. But being able to translate things to people in a way that accesses their innermost emotions and thoughts, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And you don't just learn that by the way. That's why poetry is important. Because there's another facet of language that isn't just concerned with communicating the way things look, but more so with the way things feel. And I think that's also why the artist is so important, because as far as telling history goes, the historian tells you what happened. The artist tells you how we felt about what happened. And that's more important, you know? Anyway.
Yes. So I wanted to talk to you about this wine bottle that I got you. So for those of you who haven't seen the Uncorked Poetry podcast before, I get a wine bottle for every guest, and I don't choose the bottle according to how it tastes. I choose it according to how the label relates to the guest to me. I look at the labels, like that reminds me of that guest, and then I buy it. I have no idea what it tastes like. I am disappointed a lot, but that's okay because wine is wine.
Were you disappointed this time? I saw you drinking.
No, I just mean the taste. It's not. Oh, I've got some zingers.
Was this one good?
This one's pretty good.
I like that. See?
So I saw this label and I was just thinking, I have so many questions for Muhammad. When I look at this label, I also have so many fucking questions, and that was the connection for me. So this bottle here, if you can see it, it's.
That was like one of my drawings, actually.
Yes, it is a woman. That right there, that's her head. This is her leg, and over there's her other leg. And she's in some weird pose. Now, this label, I have some fucking questions. I want to know what's happening in her life. How did she get like this? Like, who hurt her? Who didn't hurt her? Who believed in her this much?
She's grown too. She's grown, so she's not playing. She's not playing.
Yes.
This is a living. She's doing this for a living.
Yes. So that's why I got this bottle, because I too have so many questions for you. Like, how did Muhammad get to be upside down like this? Like, okay, what? I'm gonna stop that comparison. But that's why I got it. I have so many questions for you, because when I watch your videos, I find this kind of it's more than belonging. It's more like well, yeah. You know, just feeling like I've had these thoughts before and I haven't put it in this way before. Your art is welcoming and truthful, and also rips band-aids off and speaks in different dimensions. And I think your poetry is a thing that people who are lost can learn how to understand.
Thank you. I would hope so.
Yeah. Your poetry is on a whole nother level.
Thank you.
Love it. Speaking of poetry, can we have one more poem, and then we are gonna get out of here.
I'm going to find a poem. Yeah. Hold on. Let me make sure I can read this. Yeah. I wrote this recently. It's called Change the World. I don't know no rich people who truly want to change the world. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying they're not losing sleep somewhere far from here. I'm not saying that as they open their upstairs fridge on the 3rd floor of the condo for a late night snack, they don't feel some sort of sorrow or some kind of way, but I just don't know any. My father is a bull of iron who is slowly losing his metal. I saw him work till his sweet sweat dried, then replenish, and yet never became wealthy. Yet I am sure he dreams. I have buried more men than I care to count for you, all who died in the name of a senseless longing for money. Bullets setting heavy in their bodies like gold coins for the boatman. Blood running from the dance quick and hot when the shot busts. You say you want to change the world, do you? Will you show me how you got your wings? Will you lend me some feathers? Will you point the way to where the updraft air currents lead me out of this valley of death? Or is pity your solace? Your sadness at our state a kind of joy, which is to say that for you to just feel something is a sincere victory. I don't know no rich people who want to change the world. I'm not saying they don't exist. But show me where they write about a rich martyr, a rich saint, a rich prophet. Even God himself in their depictions can't seem to afford anything but a rough white cotton onesie. Where are they? I believe the notion of rich saviors is one carefully crafted. Broadcast images of their children abroad working to build huts and administer saline solutions for choleric children in anywhere. They do that. No matter how ridiculous it seems, because if we write too many poems like this, then we will begin to read the play. She said, we built our summer home in Ghana, sipping Merlot and popping a slice of cheese into her mouth. And in the evenings, they walk to the village and buy sweets for the children, while their father's dark eyes watch from the shade of barely stocked parlors. I don't know no rich people who want to change the world. I'm not saying they don't exist, but
Yes, 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 yes. Because if Jeff Bezos wanted to hire every homeless person to feed every homeless person, he could. Whenever the fuck he wanted.
I thought about it today.
Mm-hmm.
There are enough people, there are enough billionaires in the world to set up a fund, right? Where anyone in the world can access money to get health care if they need it. Like, just take 1% of your earnings and put it in a fund,
Mm-hmm.
and just give, like, find some way to administer that. I don't know how. Y'all finding ways to get to the fucking moon. I'm sure you can find a way to do that. Just find a way. People can just go, and it doesn't even have to be general healthcare. Let's just start at dental care. Let's just start at, I don't know, fucking school books. I don't know what. But if people really wanted to change shit, they would. But you can't, if someone, it is hard to enslave someone who is awake. It is hard to get someone who is awake to eat shit. You know? So McDonald's really couldn't make the kind of money they're making now if the world was awake. It's not gonna happen. Coca-Cola, the same company and same shit I'm drinking here. And I'm part of the problem here too. They make money off of selling water with sugar and flavoring. And they're one of the richest companies in the world. Did you know that McDonald's is one of the number one toy makers in the world?
For real?
Selling plastic. Like, we do not want to change the world. We would rather see this world get flushed down the fucking toilet than fix it. We don't care. You know, we really don't care. I wrote this poem, and I have, for a while I've been thinking I want to record this poem and post it online. But I have so many people who are close to me, who are rich, who I've tried to explain certain things to, who they are my friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're my friends. But how much are you really willing to risk in order for things to change? I'm not saying go out in the streets and give away your money. That's not going to solve anything. But if you know that for the next 4 generations of your family, no one has to work, then you have some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. And I know that anyone who hears this will say, but Muhammad, you're not rich. You don't understand. Okay.
Amira said, I saw this thing a few years ago where Bill Gates has so much money. If he was a country, he'd be one of the top 5 richest countries in the world. Imagine that madness. How are people still hungry? How?
Because
How did we, how did we all come from dirt and then just leave some of us still there? How do we get out that shit and then just keep going and never turn back?
it's crazy. It's crazy when you break it down. Like, when you break down what $1 billion is, you know?
It's so much money.
If you've ever seen, like, them break it down, like what $1 billion is, you know, you earn $1 million for a month for 83.3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's 1 billion, you know what I mean? Like, yo.
What?
And then that's not like for us. I always think about it like that's not converting to where I'm from, because where I'm from, it's that times 7. $1 billion US is $7 billion where I'm from, and $7 billion where I'm from. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of that $7 billion where I'm from is actually that's about yeah, it's 1/8 of the GDP. That's 1/8 of my GDP.
And
And we are
Rachel
oil
said,
nation. We are oil nation.
"Oh, that's for sure."
Anyway,
Huh. I did not know
that's
that.
the
I didn't know
story.
Trinidad was oil nation.
Yes, we are very lucky. Trinidad is a very blessed place. We our little island broke off from the mainland South America.
Mhm.
So we got oil. We have the pitch lake, which is like one of the only deposits of pitch like that in the world. So we have like an almost unending supply of pitch. Of course, we know it's not unending, and we're gonna fuck around till it ends. But we have this unending supply of pitch. But we also have a lot of flora and fauna that's only found on like mainland. So we have arboreal forest, rainforest. We have a lot of snakes and all that kinds of wonderful shit. Yeah, things we don't find on other islands. We have
Yeah, hard pause on that.
hard pause on the snakes. We
Hard
actually
pause.
have one of the most poisonous snakes in the Western Hemisphere, what we call the mappa peas. It's called the fur-de-lance.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are 2 varieties, and we have both of them on this little island.
No.
Hard, hard. Anacondas, green and yellow. Yeah. We have a lot of snakes on this island. We have coral snakes. We have man. Anyhow, you didn't need to
I
know
saw an
that.
armadillo
You
yesterday.
didn't. We have that too. We eat all of them though. We don't eat snakes, but we eat everything else.
I want to try armadillo. I don't know like where to go.
I mean, this is the right place. Just come through.
It's coming to Trinidad.
It will all taste the same though, because they cook them by the same process, because it's gamey. So they basically just they do something called a curry stew, and they put a lot of pepper, and to me it all tastes the same. I can't say it all tastes the same. I've only had like 2 or 3 different kinds, and I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I don't eat wild meat. I don't.
Makes sense. Rachel said you are rich though, richer in knowledge and heart.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, yes.
Yes,
I'm rich in
Rachel.
knowledge and heart.
Rachel's a shit.
I'm telling you, I no disrespect. I love you all. I understand. And every time I talk about money, Black people want to tell me that I'm rich in knowledge and heart. And I appreciate it. I know I'm rich in knowledge and heart. I give thanks for that. But listen, I said in this poem, I've buried more men than I care to count. And it's the truth. I've buried more young men. When I was 19 years old, when I was 22 years old, I was the assistant imam to my father in a mosque in Lavway, a place called Lavway in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
And in my 21st year of my life, I buried. There were months when I had 2 or 3 different funerals to officiate. Me at 21 years old, I've put young men in the ground, and it was all because of money. It was all because they were trying to generate money for their families. It wasn't for anything else. Money that came into gang thing, that came into pride. And we rich, yeah, but we don't know that. Our system doesn't. And until we have some Black billionaires who are willing to invest in our people, to teach them that they are rich and show them how to not have to live within the system the way it is, telling me that I'm rich in heart and in mind, I know that. So was Marcus Garvey, and he died poor, and and so many of our generation don't even know who he is, and that's unfortunate. So was George Padmore. So was Kwame Ture. So was Uriah Butler. So was Althea Jones. I could make a whole long list of people who were rich in thought. And yes, they've left that beautiful legacy for us. But one of the things, even with Dr. King, that we downplay was the reason he was killed wasn't because of the ideology he was preaching. About getting land for Black people. That's where the radical ideology needs to be. That's what Malcolm and Garvey and Dr. King were talking about. So yes, we know we are rich in heart and mind, and we will always be. But we need some wealth.
I like a little bit. I want a lot of it. Fuck a little bit.
We need a lot.
I want a lot of it.
You know, and we're not asking for anything that isn't ours. We just want back our shit. You know what I mean?
You want your fucking handout? What's mine?
With right now with the Ivory Coast, I think is it Ivory Coast? They were Sierra Leone or Ivory Coast. They're gonna stop selling their cocoa to France and Sweden or whatever because they make $12 billion a year, and out of that, the Ivory Coast sees two. It's more than 12. I think it's like $112 billion a year from chocolate, and the Ivory Coast sees 2 billion, and they have the best cocoa in the world. Ironically, Trinidad also had the best cocoa in the world at one point in time. We have the Trinitario bean, and they used to buy our beans and mix it with other beans to get a very high level of chocolate. But we stopped growing them because we have oil and we ship it. Anyway.
Brittany Lady Poetry Stroud said, "This is true. We need more people to give back and invest in our community. I make it a point to invest not just time and knowledge, but money as well." Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're gonna get out of here. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. Thank you, Muhammad, for being here with us. You have a self-published book, Forgetful Road. Where can people buy your book?
It's not. It was self-published and never released. Let's just talk about my problems.
Never mind.
Yeah, I self-published it as a part of an art exhibition, and I printed 100 copies. I sold them, and then there's no more. I'm working on my book now. Mm-hmm. One of my best friends and my editor, she's probably watching this and rolling her eyes. Yeah, but yeah, don't worry, y'all. Look out for it. Soon come.
Gotcha. So make sure you guys follow Muhammad on all the socials. Here is his Instagram. So make sure you follow him on Instagram. Before we go, Muhammad, I'm gonna stalk you in person. Ha! That hasn't happened at all this week. That sounded weird out of context. I just heard it. That's okay though.
That's all right. Yo.
What do I want to say? Other than thank you. A lot of knowledge dropped tonight. A lot of knowledge dropped tonight. We're gonna repost this again tomorrow. It'll be on my YouTube page, which is this link. You can find this link there. It'll be in the Uncorked Poetry Podcast Facebook group, and it'll be on my artist page, Tamora Israel, poet artist. Tamora Israel Poetry. Just put that in. I should know this. Yeah. Anyway, before we get out of here, I have one last question for Muhammad, and then we're gonna do stuff out of here. To close out, Muhammad, what brings you joy?
Water. Deep ocean water. Mm-hmm. I'm talking deep, 80 feet of water. Love the ocean. As cliche as it sounds, very, very simple things bring me joy. Fresh fruit, melodies, good words put together well, make me a lot of joy. I mean, as a writer yourself, you'll know sometimes you just read a sentence and it just makes you laugh out. You know what I mean? You're by yourself in a room and you read something and it just brings you to tears immediately, or it makes you laugh. Those things, knowing that words have the power to do that, yeah, that brings me a lot of joy. And knowing that I have the ability to carve words that can do that, that brings me a lot of joy. Knowing that I chose my path in life, and I was lucky to be able to live the life that I am lucky to be able to live the life that I want to live. I know a lot of people, the majority of people that I have known in my life have not been able to make that kind of choice. So having that knowledge that I was able to do that, that brings me all the joy in the world. And, you do it for them. Yeah, being able to manifest your own destiny, that's such a gift. So many people in the world don't have that, and when I wake up in the morning and I can decide what I want to do because of the way that my life has been set up, man, I couldn't be more joyful. I could not be more joyful.
That's beautiful.
I want to say something before I go.
Please do.
I am taken aback and the questions that you asked and how well this flowed, because many people they say, we want to interview you. And at the end of that interview, you've interviewed yourself, but also sometimes it feels very stressful because that person clearly didn't do any reading or any, and it ended up not being something engaging and we waste time. I think this was a real beautiful exchange. And I think that's largely in part to the fact that clearly this is something that you love to do. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that you can interview whoever the hell you want to interview from my island or anywhere in the Caribbean that I am able to. So if you have a wish list, I think you should make that list and let's make that shit happen.
That would be dope. Thank you so much. I do love doing this. I love talking to
Yeah,
poets. It's like I feel like asking poets these kind of deep questions. It's kind of like a look into a different dimension. You know, poets, we just think different. We see the
yeah,
world different. And
yeah.
it's been a great pleasure of mine. I just love talking to poets and I love hearing poetry. Thank you so much for your kind words. I appreciate it. I do
Thank
love
you.
it.
You're welcome. You deserve it. This was really, really good. This was good.
Thank you
I
very much.
enjoyed this.
I had a great time. So if you guys liked it, come on back next week. And if you are a poet or if you know a poet, please throw them my information, throw them my name. I'll do all the research. I'll go find them. Don't you worry about it. But just spreading poetry and spreading love and spreading the word of better, whatever the fuck that means for you. More of that.
That's
All right,
right.
folks. That's it for us. Remember, hurt people, so keep an eye on your pain. Stay safe. Godspeed. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Muhammad. You guys have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Yay! Go Yankees! I don't watch
I don't know
baseball.
what that means.